So today we're going to be moving these bitaxe solo miners, and we're going to be moving them from Bitcoin solo mining over to Bitcoin Cash solo mining. Now the reason for this obviously is that it's technically easier to find a solo block, but we're just going to try our luck on it. Obviously we like Bitcoin mining, but there is opportunities. I thought it'd be a good video. So we're probably going to leave it running for a week. I definitely know that we're not going to hit a block there, but difficulty is definitely lower, as we know, on Bitcoin Cash, and the block reward will go through all the profitability and stuff like that on the computer. But currently they have been timing out a little bit. We've hit 728 million. That's, I think, our highest difficulty on the Bitcoin network as far. This one is 207, and this one is not displaying it currently, but it's 2.68 G, so that's not very good actually compared to the rest of them. But hopefully we can move them over to Bitcoin Cash and hit a solo block there, because the odds are substantially lower on Bitcoin Cash than they are on the Bitcoin network, but obviously the reward is substantially lower than Bitcoin as well. So let's switch all these over to Bitcoin Cash and we'll go through the whole process on here. But just know that we have a bitaxe Max, Supra and Gamma. You can see them on the numbers. So 601 is the Gamma, or anything with 600. 400 is the Supra, I believe, and anything that's 200 is the Max version, as you can see there. So let's bring it onto the computer and go through how we're going to do that. So just quickly before we go through any of the actual setup to move this over, firstly I want to explain kind of how we're doing this. So obviously we have the Bitcoin solo miners, which are in the form of a bitaxe, and that can mine anything to SHA-256 if you didn't know. So it doesn't have to be necessarily Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash uses the same algorithm, so we can use them to solo mine as well. Same block reward, but obviously the price of Bitcoin Cash is way lower. So if you do hit a block, it's only $1,233 overall instead of the $300,000 for a Bitcoin block. In theory, the probability should be way lower if you're mining to Bitcoin Cash, and the odds aren't astronomically low even with a small amount of hash rate. So we're going to go through the calculations here. We get around 1.2 terahash on average across the three of them. We can see that on public pool when we're mining to Bitcoin. So it's the same hash rate, just on a different network. There's nothing changed there. The watts consumed is 40, but in theory, we don't actually have to pay for this because we're solo mining at the end of the day. So we can just put it to 0 because it's not necessarily included in the profitability calculation. And we can take the miner fee out. If we click calculate, that gives us the revenue, power cost, miner fee, pool fee, and profitability there. So if we were to mine, we'd only be making around 7 cents a day from that. But it also says down here the actual chances of hitting a block. Currently it has the same amount of blocks per day as the Bitcoin network, and network hash rate of 2.94 exahash with a hash rate of 1.2 terahash, which we have. That equals a 0.0000408 of the network, and you'll have a 0.00588 chance of finding a block in a day. On average, you'll find one block every 17,000 days, which after doing the calculation, that's about 40 years. However, if we had this hash rate on Bitcoin, like we've seen on previous videos on public pool, it even displays the actual years. It's around 7,000 years for the Bitcoin network with this amount of hash rate. So when you take the odds of hitting a block based on how many years there are going on, so this is a smaller chance of hitting a block, but it's still feasible. You take 7,000 that we have here, because that's how many years, and when you divide it by 40, which means 175, and when you times that by 1,250, let's just say that's the block reward, it comes out to a lower amount. If you're doing it based off pure profits or revenue from actually gaining a solo block, you'd actually have less of a revenue if you're mining to Bitcoin Cash. We kind of know that. Bitcoin is obviously the one that everyone's going for, but it's not actually that much further off it. So 218,000 compared to the 315,000, that's around 100,000 less, but technically overall odds on year compared to Bitcoin is not that far off. So we have 1.2 terahash, and now we actually have to just convert it over. So I got my Bitcoin Cash wallet here I know you're not supposed to necessarily show your wallet address, but I don't think we're going to hit a block anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This is mainly just for educational purposes, and we're going to leave it run for maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks. Just kind of see how much difficulty we can achieve on this, and then we'll just turn him back onto Bitcoin in another video. So very similar pools that we can choose from here. I don't actually know necessarily what the best one is currently, because when you're solo mining, it doesn't necessarily matter what pool you're mining to. It should be probably the one with the lowest fees and that's closest to you. In terms of the latency to the node, that is very important when you're solo mining. You could set up your own node and have 0 latency, but I feel like half the people that set up solo miners wouldn't be able to do that necessarily off the bat. So we're going to go with a way to do it here. I'm going to use actually this Lithuania one, which is not too far away from me. So the latency should be good on it. If we click in here, we can actually see. So the last block that they found was 18 hours ago, which is actually pretty good on the Bitcoin Cash network. There's a lot of other pools we could choose from, like solopool.org. Actually, we might do this one just because it's offering it in EU. So we want to start mining, and this pool works for Bitmain, Antminers, iSilicons, Wattminer, and New Series. It should work for ours as well. If we're looking here, shared difficulty, server, port, low-end hardware. So we're probably going to be using the low-end hardware part of it, and it is a solo pool as well. In most cases, we recommend low port for mining. The choice of port only affects your load of equipment and traffic. We recommend mid port if you mine with more than 25 rigs, and high port with over 100 rigs. So in this case, we're going to have to go with low. So it says here, these terms are used in configuration. You must replace it with your values, Bitcoin Cash address, generate it using the official wallet. So we already have that here. And this actually came from our Tangent wallet. So we're going to be putting it back up to Tangent if it does ever hit a block, which I don't think it will, but if it does, it's going to go to the Tangent wallet. Link in the description if you want to go get one of them. So it's pretty much the same setup that we're seeing with the public pool.io, which is change the Stratum port, change the user, and change the password there. And we have to do that for all 3 of the miners. Don't know why this one has 0 hash rate currently. I think that needs to be reset or something, but we'll figure that out when we restart the miner. So first thing that we want to do is put in our Stratum TCP. I don't think we need TCP. Yeah, I didn't think so. So we don't need that first part, which is going to be this. So we only need up to here, I believe, because the port as well is different. So we're going to go there, and let's just do this for all of them as well, so that we don't actually mess it up. So EU solo, and here as well. And then we have to put our port in, which is 8002. So there, there, and there. And then the name of the rig is optional for statistics, use letters. So I'm assuming we could put one in, but I'm sure if I just replace this address, it's gonna have it in there anyway. So we can go like this, and we can take out our Bitcoin address, put that there, put this there, and then change this as well. And the password is just X for all of them. So we've got to go through all of them. Click save, click save, click save, and then we want to restart all of them. That's the fans going, I can already hear them already. So we're going to restart all of them, and that should throw it up. Let's just go onto the logs so we can see if it's actually connecting into it or not. So setting frequency. It should actually connect to the pool at some point. It says there, method, mining, set difficulty. So it is starting, and we should see it on the solo mining pool now. So let's grab our address that we see here, and let's put it into the top. I don't know if it's actually submitted a share quite yet. Let's see what we're seeing on here for the logs, and let's open the logs on here as well. Let's go down. So this one doesn't seem like it's actually running on any hash rate currently. Mining submit parameters, result null error, low difficulty. So I'm not sure what is actually going on here. Okay, it's just started up then. So it doesn't seem like these are getting any errors either. on any of these two ones, so maybe it's just a timing issue and it needs to actually load on the pool. It does say that we need to submit at least one share, but it doesn't show any shares being submitted as of yet. So shares accepted, it does say here, bitaxe 20, maybe it's confusing it here. So I'm actually just going to go in and take out the bitaxe miner right now currently. So we've got to save that, restart it. Maybe that's actually thrown it off, but we'll wait for them to spin up a little bit more before we actually go in and check the website again. So let's look here. I don't think this is affecting it, but it's always a good thing to just restart it and see, and then we can figure out the names later on. So it doesn't seem like when we're looking at the logs it's actually errored at all. It is submitting results and it's doing jobs on the network, but we'll just maybe have to wait a little bit for this to actually update. So let's just let this run for a couple minutes and then we'll see if we can get it up. If not, we're going to change it over to a different pool. I'm probably going to go with this Z solo pool, or maybe another solo pool that we see down here. I can't go for anything in the US but we might actually throw it onto 2 miners because I know that that stratum or that node is very, very close to us currently, and the latency on 2 miners has always been good in the past for GPU mining. So currently we've been running it for a little bit and it hasn't actually showed any shares. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong with Bitcoin Cash, because maybe the shares submitted must be lower, the lower difficulty, but this is the lowest difficulty that we have. So we are going to switch over to 2 miners. Let me know if I haven't waited long enough. I'm actually quite new to solo mining. Normally when we're mining, we are mining for profitability, and solo mining has kind of been a thing that we've touched on over the past 2 months whilst getting these bitaxe miners. So we are going to go over to 2 miners just because why not? As you can see, 0 shares, but let's just change it here and see if we can get a different result from 2 miners. So we can put that in there. Let's go to settings here as well, put that in there, and let's put that in there. And then we are going to use the lowest port as well. It might actually be to do with the difficulty, because we can hit up to a certain difficulty. But let's just save and reset and we'll see how we go from here. And then we'll see how we actually fare onto 2 miners. Let's go to the logs, let's see if it's connected. So setting frequency, to setup method, mining set difficulty parameters, null method, notify, syncing, creating new jobs, work TQ'd, so new pool difficulty 500,000. It does look like it is connected as well to the pool, so maybe it's just the shares aren't being submitted necessarily. I'm normally getting a lot of shares on the Bitcoin network. I don't know how it works with Bitcoin Cash necessarily when you're solo mining, but maybe you just have to wait a little bit more for the shares to come through. But we're going to leave it on that, and we're going to come back if we actually submit any shares. When we go to home here, it does say shares accepted 1, but I don't think that that's actually displaying it properly. So this is a very, very low difficulty, and we have to get up to that to submit a share, I believe. But I would assume that some of these could hit up to that very, very quickly. When we're looking at the gamma, you would expect that to hit up to that very quickly, but maybe we'll just have to find one with a lower difficulty and we'll go from there. So we're going to give this a little bit of a while to actually run up, see if we can submit a share, and then we'll go from there. So after waiting for quite a while, as you can see on this footage here, we're actually recording. As you can see, we actually updated the firmware for the bitaxes, and they have a little bit of a different display. I didn't realize that this actual update had come out where it actually scans across, as you can see here. But looking at this, I don't think it's actually made anything better compared to what we're seeing on the pool, because we haven't submitted a share yet. Maybe there's some settings that we need to include in there that will actually put it up to Bitcoin Cash. And you guys can let me know that in the comments. Obviously I'll stick around. Maybe I'll leave in the pinned comment if we actually hit a share. And just letting you guys know that if you ever want to join in with mining, it's going to be probably mining for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to leave this linked in the description. It's to 2 miners and you can mine to it if you want. Just kind of get a little bit of a hash rate going. I'm not really expecting to hit a block, but it'd be nice if we did. And, share some of the profitabilities through that with all the members on the channel. So I think it's around 1,200. So if we did hit a block, maybe we do a giveaway, split it up into 10, so $120 each from that block. But so far, when we come here and we click enter, we can't see the actual address in there because we haven't submitted a share to the pool. So maybe I'm just going to let this run and I'll tell you in the comments below. But this new OS is actually pretty good. I didn't realize that this came out, and I actually got this to update for the earliest bitaxe Max model, which I didn't realize was so old on the firmware and the website update. But it also gives you this nice chart of the temperature. So you have hash rate and then temperature. Temperature is around 48 down here, but it can go all the way up to 80. And then with the, I think this is the gamma, it's around 54. So after looking, I just realized now that I've found the solution to the problem. And that was because the share difficulty was way too high on 2 miners. And the same goes for the bchsolopool.org. So I'm trying to look for a pool that has a lower difficulty on solo mining, and I can't really find one at the moment that is also close so we can get a good latency to the pool. For example, on 2 miners, it's 500k for the share difficulty, so that's to submit a share. I was thinking why it wasn't actually showing up in shares, but public pool obviously have their difficulty set for Bitcoin mining to very low so people can submit shares. And then with BCH solo pool, the difficulty is set to 250k. Currently, the highest we've had is 115k on the gamma, 113k on the Supra, and only 74k on the max version. So I've just now realized that that's the problem, and it is going to pose a problem because we don't necessarily have a smaller solo pool like we have with public pool that is mainly for solo miners that are using bitaxes, because typically when you're using a bitaxe, you don't really want to mine Bitcoin Cash. You would go over to just a Bitcoin pool. So I've been trying to look around for the lowest one that we can actually submit a share to so we can actually get it up on there. This is technically the lowest one, the first one that we used, so 250,000, and 2 miners is about double that to submit one. If we go here, we can actually click maybe how to connect. So I've just been looking through these. It doesn't actually state the difficulty anywhere here to submit. If we scroll down, custom difficulty is also supported. String D 10,000 should be used as a password, where D is any difficulty value from the range of 2,000 to 240. So we can submit our own difficulty, and we'll probably bring out a video later on in the week actually switching it over to that. But for now, we're just going to stick with 2 miners. So make sure you like the video and subscribe for more content like this. And there'll be a video coming later on in the week where we actually show us connecting to this pool.